Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is another episode of the Reporter News Commentary and News Reading and Commentary for May 10th, 2023, on a Wednesday. Well, college basketball lost a heavyweight. I could have put this story on my sports show, Big Red Wrap Up, but I figured since I moved to this format, might as well put it on this story. Danny Crum died at the age of 86 the other day, yesterday morning. And WRB brought the story, ESPN brought it, and what can you say? But let's get right into it. A story that with the story that WRB brought. Uh, Danny Crum, who took the reins of the University of Louisville men's basketball team in 1971, started pretty much same year that Bob Knight started. And over 3 decades led it in some ways the city under the national spotlight, has died at the age of 86. Crum had been in decline in health recent years, had suffered strokes in 2017, 2019, and 2022, but continued to be an unabashed supporter of the U of L sports in the city where he came to stay. Born in San Fernando, California on March 2nd, 1937, the son of an aircraft mechanic and seamstress, Crum said he learned from his parents not to major in minors, and he never did. Raised by his father after his parents split when he was 10 years old, Crum's first loves were football and basketball. But a tall boy moved in across the street, and Crum began playing basketball with him. Two simple acts of fatherhood left a mark on Louisville history. Crum's father, Alwyn, put up a basketball goal in the backyard. Then his son, ever passionate about the game, he put up a light. Then he would play well into the warm California nights until neighbors poked their heads out of the windows to tell him to go to bed. But a dream had been born. Crum's life and accomplishments would be filled of rolled up program. Would fill a roll up program. Two-time national champion, six Final Fours, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1994, escorted by John Wooden. As a side note to that fact, uh, he lived to see the court that Cardinal teams play on in Central Avenue overpass on campus in a new dorm at the university named after him. In 2022, he welcomed one of his former players, Kenny Payne, into the U of L coaching seat, and he occupied for so long. But his legacy for the school and the city runs deep. Louisville's basketball success did not begin with Crum, but he is the central figure of the university's sports history. Even that is insane enough, considering that the growth of the university and, for that matter, the emergence of the city of Louisville itself were concurrent with the growth and success of Crum's basketball program. Some have said his program's success was the catalyst of those things, and Crum was the one who flipped the switch. For 30 years, he was the face of U of L, and even in his retirement, he maintained an honored presence. At his 85th birthday celebration on March 2nd, 2022, friends, former players, fans, family gathered to pay tribute to his singular U of L life, eating potato soup that he had helped prepare with proceeds from its sales going to the Denny Crum Scholarship Foundation, which raised more than 1.5 million to endow scholarships at the school over the final decade of his life. He is U of L, said one of his former players, Daryl Griffith. Most people in this city can't imagine the place or city without him. Another former player, Roger Bergman, said, sometimes I think we take people for granted, and I think Coach Crum is one of those. And the reason why I say that is he's always been there for all these years, for all of us, and for this university and for this community. He's a humble guy, and that you would never know was a legendary superstar of a basketball coach. He's that loyal. Let me repeat, that loyal. Friends that are generous, that's generous and and kind to everyone. Cool Hand Luke, Al McGuire, who coached against Crum for years at Marquette, and before becoming a basketball commentator for NBC, called Crum Cool Hand Luke. Nobody was cooler than Crum, especially in the decade of the 1980s when he rolled in astride college basketball's hottest program and led it to four Final Fours and two national championships in '80 and '86. The University and Athletic Department that emerged from that period were markedly different from the ones that entered it. It's not that the school hadn't had success before, but Crum years changed its perception, first in its home state and then around the nation. The athletic department had a $2 million budget in 1980. $2 million, and that was already subsided by the university. Coming out of those years, the budget was nearly $6 million. The athletic department was self-sufficient. And the Brothers Basketball Program's national TV appearances, Louisville Athletic Director Bill Olson built cash reserves approaching 40 million war chest that was used to help begin the massive round of facilities spending that sparkled the university to a bigger and better confident conference affiliations. I don't think there's any question that it changed a lot of things, Crum told Louisville Public Radio and WFPL in April of 2013 when he asked about the basketball program success. I think giving was way too up to the university, and it's continued to be that way. I think nationally it gave us a little foothold in the '80s. I think we were in four Final Fours and won two national championships. No one else did that during the '80s. So I think that's really puts us on the map. And it was and it made Crum a Louisville icon, right along with Muhammad Ali and Louisville Slugger and the Kentucky Derby. Longtime Louisville Mayor Jerry Abrahamson, who went to Washington to serve under President Barack Obama after a stint as Kentucky's lieutenant governor, remember that car ride from the airport toward downtown with Obama. Abrahamson said he pointed out points of interest from the interstate and he pointed to Freedom Hall. Obama piped up and said all of Payne Denny Crum, he coached there. And he had that guy, Daryl Griffith, with a 42-inch vertical. Crum arrived on U of L before the 71-72 season after serving his 4 years as an assistant for a legendary UCLA coach, John Wooden, for whom he had also played and served as a graduate assistant. He was useful and confident, some thought cocky, but laid back and charismatic. Peck Hickman, then the Louisville athletic director, and himself an accomplished basketball coach at the school, said he didn't know what to make of the young Crum with his sideburns and leisure suit. Then we interviewed him, Hickman said, and he blew us away. Crum took Louisville to Final Four and to the Final Four in his first season. Having come from UCLA, I just thought that's what you did. Crum said you played a season, then you went to the tournament and went to the Final Four. I didn't have a good appreciation for how hard it was. It didn't take long for Crum to stoke the flames of the rivalry with the University of Kentucky. Adolph Rupp, its Hall of Fame coach, had an all-white freshman class that included players like Jimmy Dane Connor, Mike Flynn, Bob Guyette, and Kevin Grieving. It was rated number one in the nation. But asked about Kentucky's class, Crum said he was not overly impressed with any of them and went on to say, I wouldn't trade any of them for our two best freshmen at Louisville, Allen Murphy and Junior Bridgman. He added that Murphy would eat any of the any UK's guys alive. Kentucky fans was outraged, and the Lexington Herald in the editorial exclaimed, "Can you imagine the gall?" Louisville fans loved it. They rallied behind his confidence, his defiant call for respect, and resonated with him. It would for 3 decades, and their numbers began to grow. Crum coached man-to-man defense and mined the cities in the northeast and rural areas of the southeast and for the hidden gems. He liked big guards. He could post up in long, athletic, interchangeable players on the front line that would switch everything defensively. He immediately installed UCLA's high post offense. He developed a 2-2-1 full court zone press, and his teams became known for applying fierce pressure during a time when college basketball was coping with offenses that like to run in four corner style game. Manning the Cardinals sideline with his rolled up program. Rum took the Cardinals to the Final Four twice in his first 4 years before landing Louisville prep standout Darrell Griffith in 1976. After a first round loss, the Cardinals would make back to back Sweet 16s appearances before winning the 1980 NCAA championship. And that championship changed everything. From then on, there was a waiting list for Louisville season tickets. The school was able to negotiate with the state for a renovation of its home court, Freedom Hall, at the state fairgrounds. Then the school needed state funding help for the academic buildings in its effort to maintain its accreditation. Crum was asked to speak to the governor. The funding was approved. From 1980 to 86, there was no more fashionable program than Louisville's Doctors of Dunk. Made back-to-back Final Four appearances in 82 and 83, and in 86 they won the national championship. While Crum was the hottest coach in the game, he never was voted one of the major National Coach of the Year awards. Wow. Maybe that was because of his laid-back style, or maybe it was because his teams was started slowly battled their way through brutal early season schedules. Slowly battled their way through brutal early season schedules and peaked late in the season, often after the award balloting and had been settled. Whatever the case, he wasn't always accorded to the public recognition to match his accomplishments. He battled the perception that he wasn't coaching hard because he didn't rant and rave. His teams were very athletic, but some thought they were undisciplined. From success in close games, however, his uncanny ability to draw up successful plays out of the timeout said something different. I'm told old mentor Wooden said of him, he's not a showman. So coaches want to be seen. Some coaches want to be seen. I want people to come watch my players. I think Denny's that way. Interchangeable parts on a team that wore down opponents. He excelled in finding talented players that then giving them freedom to play. He gave them freedom in other ways too. He didn't treat you like a little kid, said David Poncho Wright, the splendid six man for the Louisville's 1980 championship team. He definitely let you be your own person. After the 1980 championship, Crum tried to pressure Kentucky to play the Cardinals. No amount of public pressure could make that happen. But the '83 NCAA tournament did. In a CBS interview with John Tesh before that meeting in Knoxville, dubbed the Dream Game, became the rivals hadn't played since 1958. Crum told Tesh that they won't play. Then Tesh asked if it was because Kentucky was afraid. Crum said, "Well, did you ask them that?" We asked Joe B. Hall, Tesh said, and he wouldn't give an answer, would he? Crum said. Well, Tesh responded. He tried to walk out of the interview, actually. Yeah, Crum said. Well, that's typical. Regular season series with Kentucky finally came about the following November, and it continues today. Crum never expected to spend his entire career in Louisville. He thought he would come for a few years, then go to UCLA when Wooden retired. After Wooden left in the mid 1970s, Crum thought, "Let me call you back." Okay. Well, since I was interrupted, let me finish this off with some commentary. Well, it's what can you say about him? Then come Hall of Famer. We had some. Like I said, he came in the same time as as Bob Knight. So 71, 72, and the story that speaks for itself. He, like I said, he was pretty much a staple for this city. He, first thing you pretty much think of is when you think about Louisville is him. Despite what Patino did, and despite what anybody else around him did, yeah, Louisville was sort of like IU in some kind of ways. The program was a success before this guy would Danny came, and the program was a success before Bob came. Louisville's success wasn't quite so big as ours because we won uh, two national championships before Bob came. I think Louisville went to the NIT and won the NIT when it was back when the NIT was huge, bigger than the NCAA, and yeah, I think it was in 56, 56, and but then I remember seeing him at the Southeast. I remember him personally, I remember seeing him at the Southeast, and remember seeing him walking in the crowd at Mazik. I think picking up Scott Crum, which is which is his son, and the story speaks for itself that WRB posted. He kept the city together. Despite and they pretty much, like I said, owned the '80s, from '80 to '86. That was pretty much four Final Fours, '82, '83. I don't think they did anything in 84, but in '85, '86 they went to '84 for '85. But in '86, '87 they went. Well, that's history. They won their second national championship. But looking at a guy like some of these programs that's noted, for one guy making the program great. One guy keeping the program, giving the success to the program. And Louisville's one of them. Like Kentucky's one of them. One for Adolph Rupp, Kentucky wouldn't exist. And if it wasn't for Louisville, Denny Crum, Louisville wouldn't exist because he took up most of the history of a big chunk of the history of the program. Like Adolph Rupp is 42 years of the history of Kentucky's program. You take that 42 years away, well, you wouldn't have much of a program, would you? but he'll go down as one of the big ones, heavyweight. Him and Joe Hall, I remember his show. That was a pretty fun show to listen to at work. Really was. Lasted for 10 years. Even that show. Boy, longevity. Lasted for 10 years. And Joe he ended up dying, and how did he? But some heavyweights have left here in these parts. Like I said, Joe and Denny and Bob Knight's still around, and Adolph Rupp, he went in '77, and but some heavyweight Mount Rushmore coaches. But that's all I got. That's all I can add on to this one, because like I said, the story speaks for itself. Yeah. Yeah, can't forget about 670 something wins, 75 wins at Louisville. Can't forget about that. And how you own the Metro. Yeah, back in the '80s, my goodness, them teams that's owned the Metro. The only teams that the team that pretty much gave Denny trouble back in the '80s was pretty as far as the Metro Conference was Memphis and Florida State. Florida State would always be the game of the year in the Metro. Memphis, that was pretty much a rivalry. In battles with I think Keith Lee, and that was before my time. But I remember Elliot Perry and another. I think it had somebody else on that team that was pretty much used to give Louisville fits. But definitely remember Elliot Perry. Him, his long socks and his goggles. Yeah, I remember them. And thank God, but when they have Milt, I forgot to. Yeah, Baskerville Holmes. Yeah. Yeah, I think that was a little bit before my time though, but thank God for studying. But they had some a lot of good memories in the '80s. That's pretty much the team of the '80s, like them in Georgetown. Them in Georgetown. They owned the '80s. But yeah, that's pretty much he had some pretty good ones when he had pretty good teams when he had Samaki Walker and Dewan Wheat. Them teams was pretty good, even though they wasn't dominant teams. But when he had them two guys leading the way, they was pretty good. That was a great moment. He hung in there in the rivalry game. Matter of fact, the biggest upset he had in the rivalry game. Uh, he's in the later years was in '98 when he took a bad Louisville team. I think they was 12 and something in the Rupp Arena in '98. I remember taping that game, and they ended up beating Kentucky in that day. I think it was on a Saturday. 79-76. It was about a free throw by Nate Johnson. A free throw. And that's pretty much I guess you can say that's pretty much today the biggest upset in that series between Louisville and Kentucky, and he took it pretty terrible Louisville team in the Rupp Arena to beat Kentucky, and but that was when when Denny was on there. That was when the rivalry was at its height, and they were pretty much hot then. But when Denny was there, just like in our case when Bob and uh, Gene Katie was coaching against each other. That's when the rivalry was at its height, and but one of a kind, and on and off the court. Niggas picture still hangs on one of these buildings in this city, as far as his hometown picture, and but and let's see, didn't cover too much because I got a roll, but that's all I got though. Like I said, City lost a heavyweight. Also heavyweight the other day. Denny Crum dies at the age of 86. Y'all have a good one. This is another episode of The Reporter on May 10th, 2023, on a Wednesday. I'm gone.